What's going on, guys? My name is Anthony Darst, aka Anthony D. I am here as an Uber driver, and I also drive for Lyft, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about how I make my money, give you a little bit of tips about the app, and I've also made a couple other videos. I go ahead and I put these videos up to be informative. If this is your first time looking into Uber or looking into Lyft, I suggest go ahead and look back into my videos and take a look at some of the other videos that I've posted, because there's a lot of helpful information in there that I won't be able to do this time. So I do want to go ahead and lay into some of the questions and answers there for a few suggestions. Some of the questions I've gotten in my previous videos are really good, and I wanted to go over a few of them with you. The first thing I wanted to say was there is a referral code in the description below. And go ahead and use that. Sign up through me. The promotion that you'll receive as a new driver is significant, and it's awesome. It changes and it varies per state, but either way, if you use my code, you'll get the best promotion that you can get in your state. Somebody asked me if I use two different phones looking at my first video. So when you looked at my first video, yep, I did have two different phones. I had my iPhone, my personal iPhone, and then I had an iPhone supplied by Uber. Now that's just a little iPhone 4. Now I've upgraded to an iPhone 4S, doing big things, even though I got glass on the front and glass on the back that's pretty breakable. The battery dies all the time. It's not very good, but the reason I use two phones is because when I was running the Uber app on my personal phone, it would cut off my Bluetooth anytime I would get a call, so I would have to shut off my car and restart it. It was a huge pain. With that said, I do pay $10 a week for this little guy, but I do like a lot of the things that Uber's been updating with their apps. So let me just give you a quick rundown here. This is the Uber personal app. Now these phones can't be used for anything other than personal, anything other than business. They don't allow you to do anything else on these apps, so they add the Uber app, and I think you get a calculator, and that's about it. But if I click online, this brings you directly online. This goes ahead and starts the Uber app and makes me available to other passengers, so they can go ahead and call me. Now this right here, that's my last fare. Right here's Minneapolis and St. Paul. It looks like St. Paul is about to surge, or they might surge. That's what it looks like when you get a call. Unfortunately, for this one time, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this just so I can finish this video. Now when I want to cancel, I can click cancel right here. I'm going to go ahead and do not charge rider. And let me hop offline here so I don't get in trouble. Because that does mess up your rating. Not your rating, excuse me, it messes up your acceptance rate. Now they set this up for the drivers, which is really helpful. Notice you got trip history. On that, this shows the previous trips that I've made, and I can go in there and get the trip number. I can get the address where I'd picked them up if there was an issue with the fare or something like that. I can go in there and get all the details on the fare. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. But that's helpful. Now one thing that's kind of deceiving is the amount that it shows right here, $12.13. That is not what I'm getting paid. That's what the fare was before they took their 20% and the dollar fee. Now one thing I want to note on here is, while I'm talking about the dollar fee, Snarbush, SNARBUSH. It says, I've had a huge issue with Uber with the $1 charge. When I first started 18 months ago, they were including the $1 charge in my income and taking 20% out of that. But yes, as drivers, we never see any of that $1. And he goes on to write a few more things. Now, I just want to note here that he's right about the $1. There's a $1 ride and safety fee. That fee with Uber comes out of the driver's pocket. Now that means if I do 50 rides in 1 week, that's going to cost me $50 right out of there. Now what they do is they go ahead and expense that for you, so at the end of the year those dollars add up and they come off of your income. But at the same time, it's kind of deceiving, because like I said, if I do 50 rides in a week, that's $50 extra that I'm paying into Uber on top of my 20%. Lyft does not do that. Now I got Heather Holiday right here. It says, wish the drop pin option or would be terminated. Hardly ever accurate and was waste both the riders and drivers' time. Let me just say what she's talking about is that when you're in the Uber app as a personal, if you're ordering an Uber as a passenger, here's one of the most common issues I have. This is the Uber app as a passenger. Now, one of the things I want to note is that this is where I'm at right now. Now, if I just move it right here, and then I order the ride, that's going to tell the driver that I'm in the wrong place. So that happens all the time. So as a driver, I would say 1 in 10, somebody accidentally swipes their hand just a little bit and I'm within half a mile of where they're at. And a lot of people get really upset about that, justifiably so, but at the same time, you need to remember that a lot of these people are going to be using Uber. They're going to be fresh to Uber. They're going to be new passengers, and it's just as easy for you to do it as it is for them. So try to be understanding about it. Don't try to start the ride early. Don't, just bear with it and explain it to the passengers if you want. That's what I do. I say, hey, the reason it was probably off is because it's really easy to swipe and accidentally change your PIN to a different location. But in different occurrences, it can really be helpful. So let's say somebody is on their way home from the airport and they know they're going to be there in 5 minutes. They can adjust the PIN, drop it on their house, and it'll say 7 minutes until there's a driver available, and they can meet you there and be ready to go on time. Uber does require the driver to have their own full coverage on their vehicle. That's got to be a 2005 or newer. It's got to be a 4-door. It's got to have 5 seat belts or more. You cannot be an Uber XL unless you have 7 seats and 7 seat belts and have the ability to carry a minimum of 7 passengers, 8 total. There was a lot of controversy on my last video about if food is a write-off or not. Now, I've done a little bit of research. Depending on the state, it looks like if you're trying to write off your food, you have to be a certain mileage away from your house, because that way the IRS says it would be inconvenient for you to go home and get food, so it can be a business write-off. Another question here I have from the Prague guy. It says, how do you have your vehicle insured? Don't you need a higher insurance rate since you're driving on business and not personal use? That's a really good question. Now, Uber, I know it's changed in Minnesota. But there used to be a gap in it, and that's why we had to go through legislation in Minnesota here. What I believe had happened is an Uber driver did not have a passenger. They were on their way to pick up a passenger. They ran over a 6-year-old little girl, and Uber didn't want to cover the accident because there wasn't a passenger in the car, and their personal insurance didn't want to cover the accident because they were using the Uber app. So that hole has now been filled with Uber. Whenever a driver is using the app, Uber covers them in something very similar to a full coverage policy. And then once the passenger gets in the vehicle, then there's $1 million policy floating over the vehicle. David Nigen, he says, go Vikings. St. Paul boy, now in SoCal. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Joe Frost, he liked the concert tip. When there's a big concert, chances are it's probably going to surge. I can say that it doesn't always surge depending on how many drivers are out there. But you can get out and you can play it strategically. You can drive close to a concert knowing what time it's going to be out. You can be close to the doors and you can have your app off and watch the surge pricing through the passenger app, so you can see where it's at. Now, I've done that, and one of my fares was really high. I picked up somebody on a 7.8 from a Luke Bryan concert, gave him a ride 10.99 miles, and it was $174 after the 20% and the dollar fee. I think it ended up being $133 in my pocket or something like that. But you can be strategic like that. Now, be aware that first-time Uber users do not like getting surge pricing if they do not know how it works or what's going on. Lyft declined me because of my driving record. I have no DUIs, just several moving violations, but I'm almost positive it isn't above the 7 points in 2 years. Now, I got approved for Uber when I started driving. Clean record. The only thing I had was called a not a drop ticket. When I was 19, I blew a .06, but I was under the legal limit, but I was also under the legal age. Now, I had to sit. Lyft initially declined me as well. I had to sit and send emails back and forth. I sent them screenshots of their own policies, and I said I'm well within this. Da 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 da. I'm driving for Uber. I've had no problems. I don't have any. Now, what I think, how I believe it's laid out for both companies is like this. I think you can have one major infraction, not within the last 3 years, three moving violations, not within the last 5 years. And you can't have more than one major violation. You can't be a sex offender. You can't be a felon. You can't have assaults on your record, anything like that. Commander said, do you have any advice on tipping? Like, is it okay to ask the passenger after the ride to drop some tips, or I'll rate them a 1 star? Commander, I'm going to say you probably shouldn't drive for Uber. But if you've done your research, what I can say is that Uber is tip free. Uber does not, they encourage their drivers to reinforce that they are tip free, even if a passenger offers you a tip. Now, that's one of the main things. That's in the video that they send you right off the bat. You should have been very aware of that. Sorry to be rude. But passengers do tip. I'm not going to lie. I've gotten multiple dollar tips, $5 tips, $20 tips. Now, I always tell them it's not required to tip, but drivers do appreciate it. As far as tipping goes, I mean, if somebody knows what it's like to be a driver and some of the things involved that you can run into, just as far as, I mean, if I drive 10 minutes to pick somebody up and they're only going 2 miles and they only pay the $5 minimum fare, I get for 15 miles to the gallon in my Trailblazer. So for me, I didn't even make money on that. I'm actually underwater on that. So sometimes tips are very, very, very greatly appreciated. Commander also said, have you ever felt like your life was in danger, like someone drunk or crazy gets to the point of you canceling the ride? Also, what do you do if they have a weapon? Also, any tips on what time of day is best to do Uber rides? Thanks. Now, yeah, there is a dark side of Uber. I'm not gonna lie. I've ran into a couple situations that were not so pretty. I had two guys get in my car, and they were getting in my car, and the conversation went like this. It was, the name of the customer was supposed to be Mike. They were hopping in the car, and they said, hey, are you Uber? And it's close to bar close, 2 a.m. in Minneapolis. Hey, are you Uber? I said, yes, I'm Uber. I'm looking for Mike. They said, yes, I'm Mike. I was like, okay, hop in. And then I said, do you have an address of where we're heading? They said, no, we'll just tell you directions. I said, okay. So I was driving, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from Mike. Now Mike was like, hey, it says you picked me up and I'm not even in your car. What the hell's going on here? And I apologized, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and cancel the ride. Feel free to email Uber. I'll do the same, and that way you'll get your refund. Feel free to order another Uber and get to where you're going safely. And then I turned to these guys and I said, hey, it looks like there's been a miscommunication. We're going to either have to use the app to get you where you want to go, otherwise you guys got to hop out of my car. And they did not want to hop out of my car. So then things got a little weird. I've also had twice, I've had a boyfriend get aggressive with his girlfriend. One of them I did kick out. I ended up giving his girlfriend a free ride home. The other one did not get in my vehicle, and in fact, I had already started my car, I'm sorry, I had already started the trip because they were about to get into my car. But then he pulled her out of my car and says, you're not coming to my house, and da-da-da-da-da. So at that point, yeah, no, I'm definitely not going to give you a ride, and I will definitely go out of my way and let Uber know that I didn't feel safe as a driver and that you shouldn't be on the platform as a passenger, because that stuff's not okay. Uber is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be good. But I can say that bar close in Minneapolis specifically, I don't know about other states, but I would not recommend it for a female. And I'm not sexist or anything, but a lot of the people that I'm driving have ulterior motives that if I was their last option of the night, it could be sketchy or dangerous. Uber X Man says, is that a Pebble watch? Yes, that was in my last video. Um, Joe Ghost said, could the car payment write-off be used for a part-time Uber drivers that have a full-time job? The only way you can write off your car is if you solely use it for Uber and you don't use it for anything else. If you're using it for personal, there may be a way to write off a percentage. I'm really not sure about that. But no, you cannot write off your entire car payment unless you're using it solely for business. Something else I want to mention is what I've noticed is when I started, I was one of, I would say, a few hundred Uber drivers. Now I would say there's hundreds in the city all day, every day. Minneapolis is getting very, very saturated with drivers, but that's not to say you can't make money. You can make money off of your referrals. You can make money off of getting people to like you and offering them your phone number and using the Uber app to go pick them up, but you can get a personal heads up. Hey, I need a ride. Would you mind meeting us here? I do that a lot. And the other thing is suburbs. Now, I live in a suburb. I won't go driving to the city to chase the business. I'll always turn it on in the suburb and see where I get a ride to, because chances are they're going to the airport or they're heading to the city or whatever. But I use the passenger app religiously. I use the passenger app to see where the other Uber drivers are, and then I'll move away from the other Uber drivers just to up my chances on getting a call. All right, guys, and one more thing I want to say is it's definitely tough on your vehicle. You got to keep up with the maintenance. I've spent a lot of money, and I've put almost 40,000 miles on my vehicle since January. But I do drive a big truck. It's not really funny. I mean, it's like I get my 15 miles to the gallon and I drop $150 a week into my gas tank. So it's the better mileage, the better you're going to do, no question. Now, I just want to throw out another tip that's really, really helped me. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the link below as well. I found out about a company called Digit. And I'm bad at saving money, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there because I think this will be helpful to anybody, whether you're an Uber driver or not, and give you another opportunity to make a little bit of money. Digit, it's kind of like a online / via text savings account. Digit, what it does, you link your bank account to this online application or software, if you will. And you give them your phone number. You put it all in there. It's actually held through Wells Fargo. It's FDIC insured. But what it is, it'll pop up and say, "Hey, Anthony," I'll get a text message. "Hey, Anthony, your checking account balance today is," let's say your checking account balance is $200 and some change. If I go and I click save, it's going to say, "What would you like to save today?" And I can put in $2. And it'll automatically transfer these $2 into a special savings account that I don't even see, that's not linked to my actual checking or my actual savings account. But it builds over time, and there's no fee to you at all. So if I can save $1 a day, if I can save, $50 when I'm up and I get a chance, I'll just toss it in there. And then I can go ahead and text withdraw, and I'll have the money in my account the next business day. So guys, this is called Digit. Now, for every person that you refer, you get $5 as well. So I would suggest checking that out. Like I said, I'm going to put the link below. Again, that's called Digit, and I think it's awesome. I think you guys are awesome. I'd love for you guys to blast me with a few more questions. I'm going to go ahead and do another video here soon. Keep you guys updated. Right now, I'm at almost 1,800 successful rides. I've never had an accident. I've never had a bad complaint. I have had a couple crazy passengers. Now, I do want to reiterate one more thing to the commander. What do you do in that situation if something gets sketchy? You stay extremely passive. You don't try to start an argument with these people. You don't want to end up having to pull a weapon, or you don't want them to pull a weapon. You don't even want to get it. You don't even want to bring it there. Bring them to where they're going to go. Do whatever you need to do to get them where they need to go safely. And if they want to start a bunch of drama with you, I would say last resort, yeah, feel free to kick them out. Feel free to call the police if you do kick them out, because you shouldn't have to kick them out unless it's something serious. But just explain to these passengers that it's supposed to be safe for everybody that uses it, especially the drivers. Hats off to the drivers that are getting people around safely. Hats off to the passengers that are getting around using it. It's perfect. Guys, I really appreciate you listening. Again, my name is Anthony Darst. Check out Digit. Sign up with the link below. Use my code. Spread my code. Share the love. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.